Hello and welcome to Free Advice Friday. Looking forward to spending some time with you guys again and answering your voiceover business and marketing questions. I know it's been a couple of weeks, but glad to be back. Looking forward to a great session today over the next hour or so and answering as many voiceover business and marketing questions as I possibly can, which is always the goal on Free Advice Friday. So every week, I like to start out with something that I can talk about, some advice that I can give or a tip that I can give while we're waiting for people to jump into the live stream and waiting for questions to pop up on the screen. And one of the things that I've been thinking about a lot lately is content. It's probably, I would say, next to email marketing, content is the second most discussed topic in a lot of the coaching sessions that I'm doing. And it's just voice actors trying to figure out, what the heck am I supposed to post on social media? So a lot of voice actors recognize that I should probably be using it. That's fine. That's easy. But the big question is, what the heck am I supposed to share on it? That's where everybody struggles. And one of the things that I teach a lot is creating content that adds value. And then, of course, the question becomes, well, what the heck does that even mean? How do I create content that adds value? And so I think we get stuck in this rut where we think that in order to be able to add value, we have to be able to teach somebody something. And if we're going to teach somebody something, we should probably teach what we know. And so we start teaching about voiceover, except that we don't feel like we're coaches. And so we don't really feel like we're equipped to be teaching about voiceover, but we really feel like we need to be in that voiceover box in order to be able to add value and market our voiceover businesses through content. And I think that's where we're getting everything wrong. We've got to give ourselves permission to get out of the voiceover box. And so I think there's a couple of things to take into consideration. First and foremost, there's content that is promotional in nature, and there's nothing wrong with sharing that content. Talking about a project that you've worked on, sharing demos that you're proud of, sharing samples of work that you are proud of or that you want to let people see. And there's nothing wrong with that, but you can't just share only that. And that's the thing. You've got to mix in some other variables along the way. And that's where we get into this notion of content that adds value. Now, LinkedIn has said very clearly that they are no longer interested in a lot of selfie content. They are more interested in educational content. So then that brings us back to, so I got to talk about voiceover. Well, no, I don't think you have to talk about voiceover. I think you've got to get yourself out of that voiceover box. One of the things that I've said for years is, we are voice actors, but what else are we? We are small business owners. We are parents with kids trying to find balance. We are remote workers. We are people who are trying to figure out how to get it done in a home office. We are self-employed. We're all of these different things as well. And so allowing yourself to tap into some of those areas, I'd be willing to bet that over the years of working from home, you've picked up a few helpful tips along the way that help you to be more efficient, more productive, that help you to find balance, that help you to keep the kids out of your Zoom meetings. I'm guessing as a working parent, you've found tips for how to keep the kids entertained, how to find that balance, how to make sure that you can still go to their sports events, but also get the voiceover work done that you have to do. I'm sure that there are apps or software subscription services that you have picked up over the years that you've used that have made a really big impact in your business and helping you to get things done or helping you to do things in a more efficient way. I'm sure that there are a lot of things that you could talk about where you're sharing the lessons that you've learned. That's where this whole entire coaching journey started for me. When I started writing my blog years ago, I was writing a blog about marketing because that's what I was learning about. I didn't know anything about marketing. I was sharing all the different things that I was learning. And I was sharing them from the sense of, hey, I figured this out and it helped me. So maybe it will help you too. And that was the approach that I was taking. And so I think somewhere along the line in your journey, you've picked up some helpful tips. You've picked up some tricks along the way, things that you could share, and all of those little things can add value. But I want to share, I got two different examples that I want to show you. So first and foremost, I've started doing something. This is a new channel that I've launched just for my voiceover business. So VOpreneur, the channel that you're on right now, for a long time, it was a combination of my voiceover and my coaching. And I decided I needed to break those two things up. So I created another channel. So VOpreneur now just becomes coaching. And then I have the Marc Scott voiceover channel, which is going to be for my voiceover work. And so you can see here, I've started creating shorts. And I am working with ChatGPT, which has been fantastic, to help me create these shorts. And what I am doing is I am trying to showcase my documentary skills. That's a genre that I'm really passionate about. That's a genre that I really want to get into. And there's not a whole lot of opportunities coming my way at this point in the documentary space. And so I've decided, okay, well, if there's not a whole lot of opportunities for me in the space at this point, what can I do? I'm going to go out and create my own opportunities. So I've been using ChatGPT, giving it very specific parameters to get it to help me to write some scripts. And I've started posting some videos. So these 3 videos here are the most recent ones that I did. I posted a couple of last year and then obviously had a baby, life got derailed. I'm ready to get back into the groove now. And so these are the 3 latest ones that I've posted. You know, whatever, 1,000 views is nothing huge, but it's a good start. It's giving me an opportunity to showcase my narration skills. It's giving me an opportunity to have some fun in the booth, and I'm creating my own opportunities. And I know when I was doing this last year, I posted a few videos on the channel last year, and one of those videos did result in somebody reaching out to talk to me about doing some narration work for them. So I think that this can work, which is one of the reasons why I'm doing it. You've got ChatGPT to write the scripts. You've got Pixabay. Pixabay.com, great place to get stock video and to get royalty-free music that you can use. And it's not as hard as you would think to put something like this together. So this is one of the content strategies that I'm leaning into right now to really highlight my voiceover work, but highlight it in a fun and interesting way, rather than just saying, hey, hire me for voiceover, or here's my voiceover demos, sharing some clips that are interesting, telling some interesting stories, showcasing my voiceover work all at the same time. So that's one of the strategies that I'm leaning into. The other thing I wanted to share with you is a brand new guide that I've created. I've been working really hard on this one because of the fact that I say you got to share content, you got to share content, you got to share content. But then I also say you got to have content that adds value. And everybody says, what the heck does it mean to add value? I decided to put those two things together into an ebook, 50 content ideas that add value. I have literally gone through and created 50 different content concepts that you can lean into. I explain the concept in brief, and then I share a sample post that you could use under that theme. And not only that, but I'm also giving a ton of engagement tips throughout the guide, because social media is driven by engagement. If you can create content that is getting comments, that content is going to go a lot further because engagement drives the algorithm. And so the more comments that you can get, the more reach that your posts will ultimately get. So this guide has everything. There's 50 different ideas with actual sample posts that you can lean into. And keep in mind, this is not meant to be copy and paste. This is meant to be, oh yeah, I could totally tell a story about that, or I could totally lean into that idea. And then it also gives you opportunities to create engagement from those posts as well. So if you're interested in that one, it's available at VOpreneur.com right now. Brand new guide that I just put up this week. I will put a link in the comments here, 50 content ideas, if you want to check that one out. But I really do think there are some fun ways that voice actors can be leaning into social media. And I also think that it is sometimes a missed opportunity. I think that we get really nervous about what to post, or we think that we're not that interesting. We come up with all kinds of excuses, and hey, myself included. Part of the reason why this guide exists is because I was creating concepts for myself to lean into, because there are days when I'm like, oh, I know exactly what I want to post on social media today. But there are other days when I'm like, I have no idea what to post on social media today. And on those days when I have no idea what to post, it's really easy to just not post. So if I can have a guide that I can refer to that gives me themes or concepts that I can lean into, then there's really never any reason for me to not be able to be present on social media on any given day. With that guide, the 50 Content Ideas guide, the idea there is if you post once a week, if I can get you to post consistently once a week for a year, I genuinely believe that will make a difference in your voiceover business. And so with 50 ideas, That's literally like a year's worth of content, posting one time per week. That gets you active and present on social media at least once a week. But here's the other thing that I genuinely believe. Once you get started, ideas will start to flow. And so you've got that guide to lean into that's going to give you ideas that you can post once a week, but you're going to come up with stuff along the way that was going to be your own original ideas, projects that come up, things that come into your head. And so you're going to end up with a much more consistent presence on social media, which I think can only benefit your voiceover business long-term from a marketing standpoint. So that's the idea behind the guide. But I just wanted to share a couple of those things that I'm leaning into right now because look, part of the reason why some of you are here and you are watching this live stream right now, I'm guessing is because of my content. You're a part of the VOpreneur Facebook group. You listen to the podcast. You follow me on Instagram, or you follow me here on YouTube, or you follow me on X or wherever, and you see my content. And that is part of the reason why you've made a decision to engage with me, or you've decided to sit here and watch this live stream right now. And so it's proof that a consistent content strategy can work over time. So that's what I wanted to share with you off the top. Again, thank you for coming to Free Advice Friday. The whole point of this is I am here to answer your voiceover business and marketing questions. So if you do have a question that you would like to ask and get answered, type it in the comments. Put a Q beside it. That makes it stand out on the screen a little bit easier for me. And I will answer as many questions as I can here until, for the next hour or so. So let's start with Pat Kennedy. I noticed that your emails are coming from Kajabi. Does it integrate with your current CRM? So Kajabi is the platform that I use on the coaching side. That platform hosts all of my courses. It is my e-commerce platform. It is my email marketing platform. And it is where the website is built also for VOpreneur.com. So it is an all-in-one solution for the coaching side. I am not using that for my voiceover business. So the emailing that I'm doing on the voiceover side is something totally separate. That comes from my Marc Scott voiceover email. And that is what I'm integrating with Nimble. So Kajabi is a totally separate platform that is specifically what I'm using for the coaching side of my business. All right, let's see what's going on. Robert, good to see you here. Hope you're barbecuing something fun this weekend. Roll, good to see you here. Glad you got the guide. I hope it's helpful for you. Robert says, my initial email outreach is paying off, but I'm still struggling to get many sent out. It seems like I spend 3 to 5 hours tracking down contact info for 40 people. Suggestions. So one of the things that I would say is a tool like Apollo, Robert. And I know you learned a little bit about Apollo. We went through that in the X session that I taught at VO Atlanta. And so I know you're familiar with Apollo, but using Apollo, doing a really strategic search, figuring out exactly who you want to target today, pick a job title, pick an area, pick an industry, pick a geographic region, etc., and just work your way through that list. So that's the one thing that I would say is if you've got a very intentional target in mind today, okay, I want to focus on instructional designers who are in Florida and in the e-learning specific industry. And now you've got a very clear list that you can bring up on Apollo, and you can start being really targeted about who you're reaching out to. I think that you should be able to, once you have that list in Apollo, which is just a couple of clicks to build that list, I think that you should be able to look somebody up and get an email out in 5 minutes. Click onto their LinkedIn profile, give them a quick once over, maybe take a quick look at the website just to confirm, yeah, they definitely look like they're using voice actors, and away you go. And so I think that's the other side of it, is just making sure that you don't let yourself fall too deep down the rabbit hole. If you let yourself spend 20 minutes writing an email, then it's going to take 20 minutes to write an email. And so you got to be very intentional about holding back on that. But I do think that within a couple hours, I think that you can easily send out 10, 15, 20 emails once you get an efficient system going and get it working for you. I think that's totally doable. All right, Pat says, content, written, video, or audio, doesn't matter. Which one do you think has most impact? I am of the mindset that the most impactful one is the one that you will do. I'm sure that you could find a use case and you could find statistics to back up. This is why video is best. This is why audio is best. This is why the written word is best. And it's hard to argue with that data. But if I say to you, I think video is the best and you should do video, but you hate the idea of shooting video and you just don't want to do it, then it doesn't matter if that's what's best because you're not going to do it and it's not going to work. So I think that you can find examples all over the place of people who are using all different types of mediums. I think you can look at the Stefan Johnsons and Tawny Plattises of the world and see the amazing things that they're doing with video. I think you can look at somebody like Chris Tester and see the amazing things that he's doing with written content on LinkedIn. You know, I think you can look at people who are doing a great job. I mean, my podcast is one of the primary drivers of my coaching business, and that is audio content. I mean, video too, but the point is, I think you can make any of these things work if you do them well and if you do them consistently. And I think that's what matters more than anything. Do it well, do it consistently. I don't think the specific medium that you chooses or that you choose makes as much of a difference. Have you done a video showing your setup for creating your videos? Lighting, camera, video switcher for adding supers and lower thirds. I aspire to the smooth production you present. So the videos that I'm creating that are on the YouTube channel that I was showing you, the voiceover videos, those are created in Adobe Premiere. And there's nothing fancy about that. I literally have an iPhone mount that is attached in my booth. And so I just stand in front of my microphone, record on my iPhone. I record the audio with my voiceover equipment. I record the audio into Adobe Audition. Then I go into Premiere. I sync the video from my iPhone with the audio that I recorded in Premiere, which is really easy to do. And then I just edit the clips together in Adobe Premiere using stock footage from Pixabay, which is really easy. The live streaming that I'm doing right now, I'm using software that is called Ecamm Live, and I use a Stream Deck. And I've just got some stuff, you know, like I can push a button and it brings up, you know, the ask a question, or I can take that off and push another button and it brings up Free Advice Friday. And so some of these lower thirds I actually created in Canva, and then I just imported them into Adobe Premiere, took the backgrounds out of them, and then saved them out, and then slapped them up here on Ecamm. But honestly, the stuff that I'm doing on the voiceover side, it's not complicated. It's all shot on an iPhone. I don't have a lot of fancy equipment that I'm using for that stuff. For the stuff that I'm doing here, like this live stream right now, and for doing my podcast, I do have, I've got Elgato key lights, which are on either side of my desk. I've got a Rodecaster Pro, which is just beside me over here. Shure SM7B, which is sitting right here, but it's not a super fancy setup. And honestly, I mean, I was doing it in my booth for the first year, and I was just shooting it on a webcam, which I'm still using a webcam. I'm just using a Logitech Brio. And so don't let the equipment be the thing that holds you back. One of the things that I learned was you can make the very basics work, and you can ultimately grow. And so over time, as I started to get better, as I started to get more efficient, as I started to save a little bit of money, then I was able to do some upgrades here and there. But yeah, if you go back to the early days of my YouTube channel, almost everything was shot exclusively on an iPhone with a mic, a wireless mic that plugged into my iPhone. So it was pretty basic setup, honestly. Java says, on P2Ps, should we audition for everything or be selective so we don't get downgraded by the algorithm if we don't get shortlisted? This is a really important question, and the differentiating factor is, what P2P are you using? If you are using voices.com, there's no algorithm. Audition all day long. Nothing is going to restrict you. If you are using Bidalgo, audition all day long. There is no algorithm. Nothing is going to restrict you. If you are using Voice 123, you have to be incredibly selective on Voice 123. Be very, very choosy of the jobs that you are submitting for. Make sure that you really match the specs for those jobs. Only submit for the ones that you genuinely feel like you've got a shot at booking, and know that if you are not getting the likes, it's going to punish you over time. The algorithm will punish you. And the further down into the basement that you get, the harder that it can become to get your way out. And so the strategy that you take to the pay-to-play definitely depends on the pay-to-play site that you are using. I got to tell you, Roll, I really want the Rode, I don't even know what it's called, the Rode Videocaster or whatever it is. Rode just came out with a brand new video switcher. I absolutely don't need it because I'm literally a one camera setup, but it just looks really fun. And you know, it would go great with my Rodecaster, which is here. If I just do this, you can see I got my Rodecaster there, which I also absolutely didn't need the Rodecaster, but again, fun, blinky lights, my my Stream Deck, which I absolutely love. My favorite thing about the Stream Deck, though, is I can use it for Free Advice Friday for, you know, doing like this and changing scenes and stuff like that. So it works really great for my live stream. But when I'm not doing live streaming, I actually have a whole bunch of different shortcuts that I've created on my computer. And so, you know, like if I need to do a coaching session, I push the session button and it turns off certain lights in my office and it opens up Zoom and it puts my computer into do not disturb and like all these different things that were like all individual clicks that I had to do before. And now I've programmed shortcuts on my Stream Deck to do that, which is pretty fantastic. So I've found ways to use it outside of just doing the video thing, which is fun. I have too much fun with some of the tech toys. I mean, I'll be honest. I definitely have too much fun with some of the tech toys. Speaking of the podcast, latest episode is out, and it was a good one. David Toback, one of the co-creators of the GVAA rate guide, came on the show. We were talking all kinds of things about rates in 2025, and we spent a lot of time digging into digital specifically, because it is one of the areas of voiceover where I think people get the most confused, and that's because it's such an incredibly broad category. Digital could be a web video that's going on somebody's site. Digital could be YouTube pre-roll. Digital could be podcasting. Digital could be commercials that are streaming on Netflix or Amazon Prime. Digital is a very all-encompassing word. And David did a really great job of breaking down how we need to think about all of those different things. And he also talked about some of the upcoming changes to the GVAA rate guide, and we're very much looking forward to. Again, based on trying to make things a little bit easier for voice actors, particularly when it comes to all these various and assorted digital usages. But I would definitely say if you've got some time this weekend, that podcast is worth a listen if you haven't checked it out already. It's right here on the YouTube channel, so you can find it after the live stream. And it's also available wherever fine podcasts are given away for free. Apple, Spotify, Podbean, all those places. And you can also get it on the website at VOpreneur.com if you're interested. So that was a really, really good episode with David. I'm really grateful that he came on and shared some of those insights. We talked about negotiating. We talked about educating our clients on rates and usage. We talked a little bit about AI and how that's impacting things, but not a ton. But it was a really good conversation. Some good stuff coming up on the podcast. Next week, I've got an episode with Melanie Scroggins. She is a podcast producer who also is a voice actor. And so we're going to talk about the wonderful world of podcasting. It's an area where a lot of voice actors are starting to think maybe there's an opportunity for me there. And I absolutely agree that there is an opportunity for voice actors there. So we're going to dig into that. And 2 weeks from now, the 300th episode of the podcast, which, holy cow, I can't believe I've done 300 episodes of the podcast. But I thought, hey, 300 is kind of feels like a milestone anyway. So got to have something special for that one. So Tina Marasco is joining me on the podcast for the 300th episode. So that one will be out in a couple of weeks. And Tina is so amazing. I got to tell you guys, I had an entire interview prepared for Tina Marasco, and she came on. We shot the interview a couple days ago, and she started talking, and I was just like, Mark, just shut up, get out of the way, and just let her drop the knowledge bombs. And so I barely used any of the questions that I came up with for my interview. I just kind of let her do her thing, and it was absolutely incredible. So that's going to be a really good one. Keep an eye out for that one here coming up in a couple of weeks. All right, where are we going? John's got a question. John says, besides P2Ps and without an agent, where else can I find audition opportunities? Good question, John. So I guess part of it depends on what your definition of P2P is. Like if you're specifically talking, voices.com, Voice123, et cetera. There are opportunities on some of the freelance sites. Fiverr, Upwork, Freelancer, Mandy, some of those different types of sites. I know a lot of people knock on those sites. Are there crappy opportunities on those sites? Absolutely, there are crappy opportunities on those sites. Are there good, legitimate opportunities on those sites? Yes, there are some really good, legitimate opportunities on some of those sites. So you can check in those places. But then for me, it's direct marketing. It's going out and establishing relationships directly with the people who are potential voice buyers. And so the production companies, the creative agencies, the instructional designers, the explainer companies, all of those different types of people who uses voiceover, who produces voiceover. That's the question you ask, and then you start building those relationships. So over time, as you build those relationships, a lot of these places add me to their rosters, and then I will either get audition opportunities because I'm on those rosters, or I will just get direct bookings as a result of being on those rosters. And so that's the other big area where I think that you can find those opportunities. Robert says, I got a nice organic offer from an agency last week from my website. I followed up a few days later, but now it's been a week. Client is friendly, but how long should I wait to follow up again? I would say give them another message on Monday or Tuesday. I mean, at this point, you got nothing left to lose. All right, let's see. I reached out to Tina to set up some one-on-one coaching. She's booked out for the year. My session is currently scheduled for February 26th. She is amazing. And we talked a little bit about that in the interview. It is not easy to get in with Tina Marasco, but her library, which we talk about in the interview, is almost as good as being able to work with her directly because it's just her teaching everything that she knows. And there are, for people who do the library, she does offer sessions throughout the year that are exclusive to people who have done the library. And so that's another opportunity to work with her. But yeah, you know you're good and in demand when you're booking out a year in advance. That's pretty crazy. Do you have an opinion about having a link to the GVAA rate guide on your website to educate clients about rates? Oh, good question. Do I have an opinion on that? My initial instinct would be I don't want to do that because I think a lot of voice actors find the GVAA rate guide overwhelming. And so I suspect that voice buyers would probably find it even more overwhelming. And so would it even make any sense to them anyway? Would they be able to distinguish between all the different categories? So would it actually be helpful to them? That's what my initial gut reaction is. At the same time, would I be willing to send it to a client when I'm quoting rates? Yes, and I have done that. And so when we're going back and forth, particularly if there seems to be a pretty big gap between their budget and my quote, then sometimes I will give them a link to the GVAA just so that they can see that I'm not just pulling random numbers out of my butt. Like there is actually a rhyme or reason to where this quote is coming from. And so in that instance, I have sent out the GVAA before. So would I specifically link to it on my website? I probably wouldn't. But would I be willing to send it to clients in certain instances where I think it might give them a little bit of insight and I can refer them to a specific section or a specific category of the guide? In that case, yeah, I think I would. In that case, I actually have. Really good question. Something interesting to think about. Again, welcome to Free Advice Friday. If you do have a question that you would like to ask and get answered, please feel free to type it into the comments. But if you could just put a Q beside it when you type it, there gets to be a lot of stuff going on in the chat. And so when I'm trying to keep an eye on it over here during the live stream, the Q makes it pop out. It's a little bit easier for me to find. Also, if you are enjoying the live stream and you do me a favor and hit that like button, I would certainly appreciate that. And make sure that you subscribe to the channel so that you are always getting notified whenever I am going live for Free Advice Friday. I'm certainly happy to have you here and answer as many questions as I possibly can. So if you've got one, like I said, pop it in the chat there. Sam says, I've been researching and emailing leads, my demos, and an introduction inquiring to be on their rosters was varied success. Then I follow up around 3 months. Less time if there is a good reason. I would say that a 3-month follow-up is probably a little too long, actually. I look at their social media to see if there's something personal I can shout out. Very smart. Otherwise, they use a template with a link about an industry relevant topic, whatever their specific industry is. I think there's a good case to be made for an email like that. I do say that personalized is always better. I always think it's better to have a more personalized email. But part of that personalization also comes from making sure that you're saying things that specifically matter to the people in that genre. So I say different things to e-learning leads than I say to commercial leads, because different things matter to e-learning leads than commercial leads. And so just by having e-learning specific language in my email, that isn't a form of personalization. Just by having commercial specific language for the commercial people I'm reaching out to, that is also a form of personalization. Any way to optimize my process? I'm considering a newsletter instead of 1,000 customized templates every 3 months. It's pretty time consuming, but I don't want to lose the human personal touch. I don't think that the newsletter is going to be as effective. I'll be honest with you, I don't. And that's something that I did early in my voiceover journey, like 10 years ago in my voiceover journey, and I just never really found that it worked well for me. I think that personalized outreach is still the way to go. I think that it is far more effective. I realize that you can't do it at the same scale as if you're doing generic, but my counterpoint to that would be you don't necessarily have to do it at the same scale, because I think when you're writing more personalized messages, I think you get a higher conversion rate. And so I don't need to specifically hit 1,000 people in 3 months. So I still think personalized is definitely the best. I also think that follow-up strategy is key in all of this. And I think that's one area where a lot of voice actors are missing the mark because they are not following up frequently enough. And so you're giving them an opportunity by not following up consistently. You're giving people an opportunity to forget about you. If you go to the website at VOpreneur.com, click on the store button up there, scroll down here, Follow-Up Academy. I redid this class in February because I have completely overhauled my own follow-up strategy. And so this class right here is a 2-hour deep dive masterclass exclusively into the subject of follow-up. And I show you exactly what my current follow-up strategy looks like. And so if you're interested in learning more about follow-up, that is something that you might want to check out. So again, if you go to VOpreneur.com, click on the store button and up at the top there, and then you'll see Follow-Up Academy. Really good class that really walks you through what I'm doing for follow-up in a step-by-step way. What else can I talk about for Free Advice Friday? What other questions do you guys have that I can answer for you? I want to mention this. I've put together a brand new guide. It's called 10 Marketing Habits of Top VOs. I have looked at some of the best voice actors that I have done coaching with and what are the things that they are doing that are producing results. Obviously, I look at my own business and see what am I doing for my marketing that is producing results. And I compiled that into a free guide, 10 Marketing Habits of Top VOs. And if you would like to get that guide, go to voiceovermarketingplaybook.com. If you go to voiceovermarketingplaybook.com, enter your name and your email address right there. I'll put you on the playbook wait list. So if you're interested in Voiceover Marketing Playbook, you'll be able to find out about that when it becomes available. But you will get that guide immediately as a free download. So if you're interested in that 10 marketing habits of the top voice actors that I'm working with and that I know, grab that one at voiceovermarketingplaybook.com. Pat says, can you please expand on building a relationship with a client and offering your service without sounding salesy? I think on a practical level, what that looks like is identifying the areas where they specifically can benefit from voiceover and how you can fill that gap for them. So I think part of the problem is when people are reaching out in a very generic way and, hey, I'm available, I'm a voice actor, I can do commercial, I can do explainers, I can do politicals, I can do gaming and characters and animation and blah, 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 blah. But the person that you're reaching out to doesn't need all of those things. And that's when it comes across as salesy. But if I can reach out to an instructional designer and speak specifically to the ways that I know that they use and incorporate voiceover into their classes, and I can help them understand how I can make that part of their workload even easier. Now I'm not being selly. Now I'm being a solution provider. I think if you can reach out to a commercial company and talk specifically about your availability, quick turnaround, always happy to do Source Connect sessions, my studio's broadcast quality, my noise floor is whatever. Now you're not being selly. Now you're offering them a solution. You're a solution provider, a problem solver at that point. And so I think that's really part of it is in how you offer. It's in how you offer the service and how you present the service. But then the other side of it is just getting to know people over time, right? I mean, you guys are hanging out here and sometimes we talk about barbecue and sometimes we talk about Dr. Pepper. Sometimes we talk about the Red Sox. It was a pretty devastating loss the other night. I watched them play at the Dome Wednesday night. I took my mom to the game. We were doing so good in the start. I was so excited. I was having a great time. And then we blew it in the end. It was very sad. But anyway, you know these things about me, right? You know that if you run into me at VO Atlanta and start talking to me about barbecue, we're going to be friends. And it's learning those little things that help you to develop relationships as well. And so it's not just thinking about them specifically as a client that you can work for and get money from, but thinking about how you build a genuine relationship with these people. And I think when you can lean into that stuff, I think it's really helpful. Marie says, when, if ever, do you let a lead go? I have certain things that will disqualify them. Rates are certainly one of them. If we just are too far apart, or it just feels like we're never gonna get together on rates, that's one of them. I'm looking for people that are fun and easy to work with, and so I will let people go who I get the feeling that they're not going to fall into that category. If they're really pushy, really demanding, things of that nature. If I've been emailing somebody for a couple years and have never heard anything from them, I'm probably gonna let them slide. I might look for a new contact at the company. But by and large, for some of this stuff, because my follow-ups are all automated, it doesn't really cost me anything to keep sending emails every once in a while. And if they keep receiving those emails, like if they keep accepting those emails, then to me, they're still interested on some level. But there are certain red flags that I look for where I'm willing to say, okay, you know what? This is just not worth it. Patrick says, hey, Mark, I'm working on Nimble. The leads you gave me, can I use them? Yeah, those leads that came with VoiceOver Marketing Playbook, if for anybody who signed up for Playbook and signed up early and got access to those leads, that's the point. Use those leads, reach out to those people. Those are not my leads. Those are leads that my virtual assistant gathered for Playbook exclusively. And so hopefully there's something in there that ultimately turns into a booking for you. Sam says, I think I may just need to tweak my follow-up strategy, including staggering some stuff out over time so it doesn't all hit in a cluster bomb-like ways every couple months. Yeah, I think that's part of it. My follow-up strategy with my prospects, so just to clarify, a lead is somebody that I've never reached out to, or that I haven't reached out to yet, or that I have reached out to but I haven't had any kind of communication with yet. That's what I classify as a lead. A prospect is somebody that has expressed an interest in working with me, but hasn't hired me yet. So those are the people who have said, Mark, we love your stuff. Mark, we'll add you to our roster. Great demos. We'll keep you in mind, whatever. Some sort of positive interaction, but it hasn't led to a booking yet. So my prospects, I'm following up with every 30 days in some capacity. That may be email. That may be dropping a comment on social media. It can look like a lot of different things, but I'm trying to get in front of them every 30 days. And that's just because, like, if I asked you right now, name 5 people who emailed you last 3 months ago, could you actually name 5 people? I couldn't name 5 people. Quarterly is a quarter is a long time. A quarter is a long time in today's world where we're inundated with a billion messages a day, and it's impossible to keep everything straight and keep up with everything. And so I just find 30 days feels like it's not too much, but not so far apart that they've got time to forget about you. And so that's kind of what I've always leaned into for those follow-ups. What else do you guys want to talk about? What other questions could I answer for you on Free Advice Friday? I mentioned too, if we talked about these videos at the beginning of the show, but if you go to the YouTube channel, again, this is a separate YouTube channel. So it's youtube.com and then at MarcScottVO is my username. So let me just throw this in the chat here. If you want to go and check out some of those videos, these are the 3 newest videos that I've done. So if you want to go and check out those videos just to get a sense of what I was talking about and then start brainstorming, how can I do something like that for myself? Maybe that'll be helpful for you to go and watch those videos and see what I created. And again, it's not a super hard thing to do, especially if you've got even basic skills in something like Adobe Premiere. And I get Adobe Premiere as part of my Creative Cloud subscription because I'm an Adobe Audition user. So it's great. I've already got it. Let's see. What else is going on? Hit that like button if you're watching and enjoying. If I missed your question, by the way, it's not because I was trying to ignore it. I may have just genuinely missed it. So if I did miss your question, feel free to put it into the comments again, and I'm certainly happy to try and answer, like I said, as many questions as I can. Let's see, Pamela. How's the new podcast coming, Pamela? I was thinking about you. I was thinking about you yesterday when I recorded my episode with Melanie Scroggins, and we were talking podcasting. I actually went into my CRM because I was like, when am I supposed to check in with Pamela to find out if she's got that podcast ready to go yet? June 6th, I think, was the date that I had wrote down. So June 6th, watch for a new podcast from Pamela Muldoon. You heard it here first, live on Free Advice Friday. Accountability, Pamela. Accountability. Do the thing. She's so cursing me right now. But it's okay. It's worth it. What books are you now reading? I just started reading the brand new book from Dave Ramsey this week. I listened to him on a podcast with Cody Sanchez, and I love Cody Sanchez. Really enjoy her podcast. So I just heard him on her show, and so I ordered Build a Business You Love, is the new book from Dave Ramsey. So I am currently in the process of reading that one. And I am also, speaking of Cody Sanchez, in the process of reading her book, which is called Main Street Millionaire. And I'm quite enjoying that as well. Cody's podcast is really good if you've never listened to it before. I quite enjoy it. And the book has been really good as well. I'm actually really enjoying Cody's content. She's got a lot of really good content. Doing a great job on YouTube, doing a great job on all the different platforms, but follow her on YouTube and enjoy listening to her podcasts. So let me just get a link here if you're interested. This is the link to Dave Ramsey's book. I will put it in the chat, the one that I'm reading right now. Hang on, please stand by. Okay, there's the link to Dave Ramsey's book that I am listening to right now. Or not listening, I'm actually reading. And here is the link to Cody Sanchez. Please stand by. I love reading business books. Put that in the chat. There we go. So there's two of the ones that I'm working on right now. What else did I just finish? Oh, I just finished one. I picked it up at the airport when I was coming home from VO Atlanta. It was called How to Make a Few $Billion. You know, when you go to the airport and you're walking around in the airport in the gift shops, and they've always got a rack of books. And there was this book that was just screaming out to me to be read. And so I picked it up to start reading on the airplane. So this is coming home from Atlanta. I finished it last week. How to Make a Few $1 Billion from Brad Jacobs. And he is somebody who knows how to make a few $1 billion because he's done it a few times, actually. So some interesting things in there. I wouldn't say that it's a lot of it was directly applicable, obviously, to somebody like you or me in a small business, solopreneur business, but still some basic business principles that are in there that makes you think about the way that you're doing things. And so I quite enjoyed that one. Man, I just love reading. I have this huge bookshelf behind me. Actually, it's in front of me over here. And there's 2 full rows right now of books that are waiting to be read. I have a book outlet obsession. I probably need an intervention. My wife would say I need an intervention. But every time I get an email from Book Outlet that says, buy 4, get 1 free, I go and buy 4 and get 1 free. And now I've got like 40 books that I've bought in the last couple of months that I'm like, okay, I should probably just take a break right now and actually try to read some of these, get my way through them. My goal is always to do at least 2 books a month. Last year I was really good. Last year I did 3 books a month, but my goal is always to try to get through 2 books a month. And I'm very much a nonfiction guy, business, biography, biographies of entrepreneurs, some political biographies that I enjoy. Just picked up Reagan's biography, actually. Looking forward to reading that one. But yeah, always trying to learn something. What else is going on, guys? What can I help you with on Free Advice Friday? What do you want to talk about? What questions do you have? What can I answer for you? Uncle Roy says 24 watching and only 2 likes. Come on, guys. Hit that like button. Show me the love. Let me look at my calendar. Can I do Free Advice Friday next week? I do have Free Advice Friday in the calendar for next week. By the way, I should mention this. If you are watching in the Seattle area right now, if you are in the, anywhere near Seattle, I am actually going to be in Seattle on Tuesday, May the 13th. And I'm going to be teaching a live workshop for the Seattle Voice Academy. And it is open to anybody that is in the area. If you are interested, let me see if I can find the link here to share with you. Live workshops, please stand by. Here we go. I'll throw the link in the chat here. If you are in the Seattle area, I'm going to be teaching. It's the same session that I taught as an X session at VO Atlanta, from search to send. So I'm literally going to be walking you through how to find a lead, how to research that lead, and how to write them a really great marketing email. So I'm going to walk you through the whole entire process step by step. So that is happening in Seattle. That is going to be on May the 13th. It's a 3-hour session, 5 till 8 p.m. Local time. So check that one out. I'm actually going to be teaching that same class a couple days later in Vancouver. But that one is already sold out. But looking forward to doing that. It's been a while since I've been able to travel and do some of these things, do sessions like this. And so I'm very excited, looking forward to doing it. It's actually the first time that I've ever been to Seattle. So that's going to be fun. And guys, can I tell you something? I got to tell you something. Because nobody's flying right now because of, things that are going on in the world. On my trip home from out west, I get to fly like J. Michael. I got a first class lie flat seat pod. I've never had that experience before. I couldn't possibly be more excited. Like, it's actually kind of embarrassing how excited I am about that, but it's always been one of my travel goals. Just one time, I want to be able to fly in a pod and experience that first class lie flat pod experience. And so it's finally going to happen. So I'm very excited about that. So please stand by on social media for all kinds of pictures of that, I'm sure, because I will be giddy like a schoolboy and can't wait to have that experience and share that with you. Pat says, will we see any of your cuties today? Actually, Kinsley is down for a nap right now, I think. She was going down just before I came down for Free Advice Friday. I'm not sure what Kaylee's doing right now. I don't actually hear her. It's possible she may have fell asleep too, because usually I hear her. She's usually running around upstairs and I can hear everything. Robert says, it's sort of too late now, but next week I'm attending the big B2B Expo and also the Franchise Expo in Miami. What are your thoughts on having some sort of leave behind or handout? I actually did a podcast episode on this. Let me see if I can find it. Where is that episode? I'm going to do a search here on YouTube and see if I can find it on my YouTube channel. Here we go. This is it. I think this is it. You'll actually be able to see from this how much things have changed, how much, because this is a little bit older episode. So, we were talking earlier about lighting and all the stuff that I've used to do my podcast or whatever. And this is an earlier video episode of the podcast where I don't have some of the stuff that I have now. But I did an episode called How to Choose the Perfect Branded Swag and offered some tips on that. I think there are opportunities when you're attending events like that to leave things behind. And I do think that it's worth it in certain instances to step up beyond the business card. Everybody's leaving a business card. So how do you cut through the noise if you're leaving behind the exact same thing that everybody else is leaving behind? Well, the answer is you don't leave behind the exact same thing that everybody else is leaving behind. And so I offer some tips on things to take into consideration when you're trying to choose branded swag. And I talk about things like something that they will use, right? Something that has an actual practical application that they can use every day. Something that they'll keep on their desk or something that they would keep in their car, things like that, because then it's always in front of them. It's something that they're constantly reaching out for. Practical things that have actual uses. Like everybody gets a pen and a piece of paper. Well, how many pens do I need? A lot of people give out coffee mugs. Well, how many coffee mugs do I need? Especially when I don't even drink coffee. And so I'm trying to think of outside of the box of that, but still thinking about things that what is somebody going to keep? One of the best gifts that I ever got, and this is true story, David Toback and I just talked about this in the episode too. A few years ago, there was a conference in Toronto called VO North, and David had come up for that conference, and they were handing out GVAA branded fidget spinners. I am a fidget spinner guy. In fact, look, see this right here? I've had this in my hand the whole entire time that I've been doing this live stream. This is not the one that I was talking about, but David Toback handed out GVAA branded fidget spinners. I still have that fidget spinner. And that's probably 5 or 6 years ago that we did that conference. That's something that for me, for a guy who's a fidgeter, I use that thing every day. Last year at VO Atlanta, the ladies from VA for VO were giving out stress balls. And if you saw me at VO Atlanta last year, you would have noticed that I had a stress ball in my hand from the time I arrived in Atlanta until the time I departed Atlanta. I had one of those VA for VO stress balls in my hand. When I was on stage giving my speech, when I won the award, where is the award? That award right there. Nope, that award right there. When I won that at Atlanta last year and I was on stage giving the speech for that, I had a VA for VO stress ball in my hand. That's just something that those are little things like that I will use, right? So think about that. What is something that somebody would keep their hands on or that they would always want to have on their desk? Uncle Roy says, Brad Highland gave out an eyeglass cleaning cloth. We use it. 100%. My wife wears glasses. 2 of my daughters wear glasses. They took that thing from me as soon as I got home. And that is something that they use all the time. So think about things like that, I think can be really fun. But anyway, check out that episode. It's on the YouTube channel. I put it in the chat. It's also available audio format, of course, if you want to search it up for Apple or Spotify or wherever you enjoy podcasts. Well, excuse me. How to choose the perfect branded swag. Let's see. Holy moly, it's 1:54. Time flies when you're having fun. Guys, don't forget, check it out. If you are struggling for social media, if you're struggling for ideas, part of what I want to do with VOpreneur, I have all kinds of different offerings at all kinds of different price points. And one of the things that I've started trying to do is introduce some really low ticket, but really high value items. And so $27 is pretty affordable. I think anyway, it's pretty affordable, but it can have high impact. If you actually take the ideas from this, imagine if you actually took the ideas from this and you did have 1 year of consistent social media posting once a week that you didn't have to think about, you didn't have to stress over, you didn't have to wonder, you're not trying to come up with ideas. You just open up the book, grab an idea from it, and away you go. That's probably worth $27. Taking that amount of stress out of your day, that's probably worth $27. So head to the website, VOpreneur.com, and you can click on the store button and you will find it in the store button. I will throw it into the chat here again. This is 50 content ideas that add value. This ebook available now. It is an instant download. So as soon as you make your purchase, you will receive your guide and you will be ready to start posting on Monday. You'll be ready to have a post to go for Monday. And I look forward to seeing the post that you come up with. So make sure you check that out. I just put the link in the chat as well. Who's going to get the last question on Free Advice Friday? Oh, here's one from Joseph. Is there a course on your website that you would consider essential for someone starting a voiceover business? That's a tricky question to answer, Joseph, because I think it probably depends on where you are at specifically and what you specifically mean when you say that you are starting. So more than saying is there a specific course that I would give or recommend, what I would say first is click the link that I'm putting in the chat right now. Oops, hit the wrong button. Okay, Joseph, I put a link in the chat. Book a free 15-minute consultation with me, and let's talk about specifically where you're at right now. And then I can say with more confidence, I think you should check out this course, or I think this course would be the right fit for you, or I don't think you're ready for any of my courses yet. And just to be clear, I'll tell you that straight too. So grab one of those. Robert says, oak, hickory, wrap, no wrap. What are we talking? Brisket? I actually do most of my smoking with cherry. I have cherry wood, like actual cherry wood that I burn in my stick burner. And then I have cherry pellets that I use for a lot of stuff as well. So my ribs, anything that I'm doing that's pork, even my brisket now, I mostly do with cherry. I do wrap my brisket. Once I hit around 160, 165, somewhere in that area, I wrap my brisket. I'm a butcher paper guy. I am not a foil guy. No brisket this weekend. I'm doing pork tenderloins for supper tonight, though. Looking forward to doing that. I haven't decided, though, if they're going to go in the smoker or if I'm just going to do them cast iron. Sear them off and then finish them off in the oven. Sear them in some butter, because everything's better in butter. All right, guys. Thank you for joining me for Free Advice Friday. As always, I certainly do appreciate it. Make sure you check out the latest episode of the podcast at VOpreneur.com or right here on the YouTube channel, Talking Rates with David Toback. We hadn't talked rates since 2021. I couldn't believe that it had been that long. I didn't realize that it had been that long. But that episode, again, is available now, and it was absolutely a good one. Watch for the new episode with Melanie Scroggins coming out next week where we talk podcasting. And 2 weeks from now, Tina Marasco. And, we're talking casting on that one. And that episode is going to be gold. I have a feeling that's going to be one of my most downloaded episodes of the year. And it's only May, but I know that's going to be a pretty popular one. So looking forward to getting that one out there as well. Thank you. I appreciate you. Thanks for coming and asking your questions and spending your lunch with me. Hopefully you got some of the answers that you were looking for. You're feeling a little bit more confident as you head out into the weekend and ready to set some new goals for your voiceover business, create some new content for your voiceover business, whatever it is. Hopefully you've got a little bit more clarity on what's up right now. Thank you. Thank you for joining me. As always, I should be back next Friday. My schedule is looking pretty good right now, so I should be able to be back next Friday. So tentatively plan on it, and I will keep you posted. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. That way you will get notified for sure if I'm going to be back for Free Advice Friday next weekend. As always, whatever you decide to do this weekend, have fun, stay safe, and go find some leads.